I am talking with Justin Taylor of Alborn. And now you guys got your start back in 2016. You're a Northern Illinois-based band. And, I was reading a little bit about your bio here, and it says you've been compared to Deftones or a heavier version of Alice in Chains. Is that something that you agree with?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's early 2000s. I get that a lot.
Okay.
Breaking Benjamin. I always thought we were heavier than that, but I mean, I'm flattered by any of it.
Right. Well, and I was just listening to some of your music here too, and I gotta say, I think you sounded a little heavier than Breaking Benjamin and Alice in Chains to me, but maybe that's just my own ear, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear it either way.
All right, excellent. That sounds good. And now, you, back in 2020, you released your EP Imperative, just in time for the COVID pandemic. And you followed that up with some singles, Full Circle, Cause to Create, Hindsight. And then just recently, of course, you had released a few more songs, Push, Learn to Live, and Even Numbers. Can you kind of talk about the roller coaster that must have been, releasing that EP, then COVID hits, and now you're releasing these single songs. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we thought we had like a pretty solid plan for the 2020 EP, and then obviously we were bummed as well as everybody else when COVID came and pretty much ruined everything.
Right.
And going out with on this last tour we did and putting this EP out, it's kind of turning into like a blessing in disguise. Everything that happened, it gave us more time to prepare and solidify our sound a little more and work together and figure out what we want to do with this. So, I mean, I feel much stronger about the EP that we have now, not to dog the other one by any means, but I feel like we're all really like in unison now more than what we would have. And, it's easy to say now, it wouldn't have worked trying to go out 3 years ago, but I mean, there's a lot that's happened in them 3 years that needed to happen, and it was nice that it was able to happen at our home base versus on the road,
Right. Exactly. And now it's kind of interesting too, because I've noticed with a lot of bands that they're kind of going that route more where, they may release an EP or even an album, but then beyond that, they release, the singles as time goes on throughout a year. Is that something you kind of think is more beneficial to bands? Do you think they'll continue, and you yourself will continue to do that moving forward?
I think it'll continue. I don't like it though.
Okay,
I mean, I'm like a big full album type dude, and that's what I've wanted to do with this band forever, but there's just so many reasons not to do that. And it's unfortunate, but that's how I always fell in love with music was listening and studying the entire album start to finish. The songs are in order for a reason. There's a collection of songs for a reason, and I always wanted to do that with an album, and it hasn't happened. I'm hoping it happens soon, but I would assume that like the single, maybe even the EP thing will be what everybody does with CD sales being non-existent now, and everything else. The digital world has kind of made it tough for an album to be successful for a band of our level, I mean, like the giants can still do it, but the little guys, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus that I hear from a lot of bands, is that it's probably going to be the plan moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, if there's happened to be some kind of resurgence like the vinyls have had, I'm going to be first in line to put an album out. A full 14-track, hour-long album. I'll be first in line.
All right, awesome. That's good to hear. And, speaking of that song, Push, recently, you guys have been making it onto the rock charts out there. That must be a pretty good feeling for you guys, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I said, we had a lot of time to plan and make sure everything was right, but just to finally get the payoff, it's been surreal.
All right, excellent. And you guys have been doing a lot of touring too. You're actually just wrapped up some tours with some tour dates with Power Man 5000. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, man, that was a good time. There was like very little issues. There was unbelievable turnouts at all the shows. They actually had a transportation issue, and we didn't, and I couldn't believe it, man. I was like, I had my fingers crossed the entire trip. I'm like, this van has to get to the show tonight, you know. But no, it was awesome, dude. And that entire team is awesome. Their live show was entertaining every single night. You know, I always feared like getting bored of that, you know,
right.
And every night it just got better and better and better. If anybody who hasn't seen Power Man yet, dude, that's a show to see for real.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. And, you know, I think too, you know, not to go back to COVID again, but I think, you know, after we had that period where everything was shut down, I feel that fans are, you know, hungry for that. Even after a couple years later, that fans are hungry for that live show. Is that something that you'd agree with?
I mean, you know, being that we weren't incredibly active as far as like touring pre-COVID,
Mm-hmm.
Just the scene around here, I could definitely see that. But I asked Spider himself about it on the road. I was like, have you noticed a massive difference or even a little difference? He's like, it's massive.
Yeah.
He said it's totally different than it was. He's like, of course, 20 years ago was when they were, you know, that was their prime time. He's like, you know, of course it's not like that anymore really anywhere. But he said once everything shut down and came back, it was just a totally different atmosphere. Like merch sales are better. I think people just get aside from the, you know, seeing what it's like not having live music anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think they see like they want to support even more than what they did before, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a really cool thing to see, like not just here at our home base, you know, like to go down to Florida and go down to Texas, and there's lines at the merch stands, and there's people there super early standing right up front, you know. I mean, it's awesome.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that people are getting back out there to those live music shows. That's what we need.
Oh, yeah, big time.
All right. Excellent. And now, do you have kind of anything on the horizon? Are you working on anything? Anything that you'd kind of like to tease since I've got you for this interview?
Yeah, I would love to. There's a few things I probably aren't ready to get into yet, but there's some really cool stuff coming up. So, I mean, all I can say is keep an eye out, you know.
All right, good. And people, of course, can do that. They can find you on all the social media sites and online, I assume.
Yep. We're on all the platforms.
All right, excellent. Is there anything else then? Anything else that you would like our listeners to know about in regards to yourself, the band as a whole, upcoming shows, anything like that before I let you go here this afternoon?
I think just thank you for anybody that's checked it out so far, man. I mean, we've met so many people in this last couple months that, and it seems to just all turn into like a really deep talk. Like at shows, man, we can't get out of there. Yeah. And you know, I got managers yanking on my shoulders, like, get back in the van, dude. We gotta go. Right. It's been awesome meeting everybody, and I hope. I mean, if you haven't been out to a show yet, man, come see one, because we want to meet you guys just as bad as you want to see a show, you know.
All right, excellent. That sounds good. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your afternoon here to speak with me, and we'll keep spinning your tunes on our station. And if you ever happen to make it Central Wisconsin way, you're more than welcome to stop by our studio for a visit.
Absolutely, I'd love it, dude. And thank you guys so much for the support.
Of course, no problem at all.